Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Commissioners, ready? You betcha. Good evening, everyone. At 6:30, I'm calling this regular meeting of the Plan Commission to order. This meeting has been given public notice in accordance with section 19.83 and 19.84 Wisconsin statutes in such form that will apprise the general public and news media of subject matter that is intended for consideration and action. Roll call is showing all commissioners present. Commissioners Fisher, Williams, and Tarantino, they're absent excused. We are now on to item 3, citizen input. Would anybody like to speak tonight? Got 4 minutes. Do we have anybody on WebEx? Okay, moving on.
We do not.
Thank you. We are in the minute meetings for the Plan Commission minutes from April 13, 2026. I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We're on to new business. Item A, EKM Moose Lodge, 1238, property owner W198 and 10217 Appleton Avenue, application to amend conditional use permit number 07-2011 to revise restrictions on overnight camping on the Moose Lodge property by Moose Lodge members only from April 15th through October 15th each year. And this will be a public hearing, and the commissioners will also take action. So I'm going to turn over to Jeff.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got a couple of slides showing the property on the screen. It's in the southwest corner. The slide's a little awkward in its orientation, but you can see the parcel highlighted in red. Closer in shot that shows the property, and you can see more clearly the 8 spaces for RV and other vehicle parking. Little background, the Loyal Order of the Moose and the Eastern Kettle Moraine Moose Lodge number 1238 is part of a fraternal service organization with approximately 800,000 members in approximately 1,800 lodges across US and Canada. The Moose have a wide network of lodges that participate in a program to provide members the ability to park and camp on Moose properties when traveling. In 2011, the Village of Germantown granted a conditional use permit number 07-2011 to the Moose Lodge, number 1238 here in Germantown, to allow overnight parking and camping from March to September. It also allows up to 8 vehicles, up to 3 days per vehicle per month, and it's intended for Moose members only. The lodge is responsible for providing adequate sanitary facilities, including indoor bathroom facilities and up to 3 portable toilets. That is as a condition of approval from that particular CUP. The proposed amendments are to remove the maximum 3-day limit that would in essence allow unlimited number of days and nights to park or camp on the property in the seasonal period that they're also asking to be revised from that March to September to April 15th to October 15th. So there are 2 revisions that are being requested by the Moose Lodge to their conditional use permit. Some staff observations. In 2011, when the CUP was initially approved, the Plan Commission and the board agreed to grant the CUP for overnight parking given similarities to the hotel and motel permitted use in the zoning district, the B2 zoning district within which the Moose Lodge is located. The original intent was to give the Moose Lodge the ability to provide convenient and low-cost alternative for members who typically don't need more than a 3-day stay when traveling through. And it was not intended to replace the services and safety and other amenities that might be provided by our brick and mortar hotels and motels in the Germantown area. In 2025, in the summer, staff, as part of a random monitoring visit, noticed some vehicles that were there for more than 3 days at a time. We went back a few weeks later and saw the same thing. So we approached the lodge and we indicated to them that they were in violation of their conditional use permit, and we began the conversation. The lodge members at the time revealed that non-member construction workers were in fact staying on the property for more than 3 days. Those workers were involved in the recent gas pipeline project in the village. Kind of makes some sense. The construction crews travel with projects from place to place, and some of them have RVs, and they either go to a campground or a place like this that accommodates them. However, the Moose Lodge CUP doesn't allow for non-members to park for more than 3 days at all for non-members. Other concerns, sanitary, the lodge does allow RVs to dump their gray and black water into the holding tank on the property. At the time I wrote the staff report, we hadn't heard back from Washington County with regard to their sanitary code and whether or not that was something that's permitted. I did receive a response just this afternoon, about an hour before the meeting, from Joe Steer with Washington County. His comments, and I'll kind of run through this memo real quick. You cannot dump an RV into a holding tank. There's strict state rules regarding that. You need an actual dump station that has to be approved actually by the state. I don't think the counties can actually approve dump stations, but you can't dump empty gray black water right directly into a holding tank. That's not allowed. He says he wasn't able to get into their database today because apparently the county computer system was down. So, but he went on to say, regardless, you can't just open the lid of a holding tank and run a hose from a camper into your tank. That's not allowed. Frankly, I don't know exactly what facility accommodation is made. All I know is that I was told that the Moose Lodge allows the RVs to dump in their holding tanks. So maybe later this evening from somebody from the Moose Lodge, we can hear exactly how that transpires. The last concern is there's a shipping container at the time. And last summer when we stopped by, we noticed a shipping container that's been on the property being used for storage for some time. We indicated that that's not a permitted use and it would have to be removed. That was last summer. To date, we don't have a definitive plan for when that container is going to be moved. The last word I heard was that the Moose is working with contractors to come up with some scheduling for concrete and building, and possibly, it sounds like they're looking at building a storage facility on the property in place of the shipping container. But in any event, that container is overdue for needing to be removed from the property. The staff recommendation at this point is to deny removing the 3-day limitation, but to approve revising the similar time period, the seasonal time period from March to September to an April 15th to October 15th time period. And then adding conditions to the CUP that address sanitary disposal, permanent indoor toilet and shower facilities, maintaining a guest log for village monitoring purposes, providing a 24/7 emergency contact for information for guests who might be there, somebody for the Moose Lodge that's available to respond to any issues, and to respond to any emergency personnel that may have to go out to the site in the evenings when the Moose Lodge isn't open. To obtain sanitary permits or approvals required for the use of the holding tank for sanitary disposal, and to remove the shipping container within 6 months after the CUP amendment is recorded if it is approved by the village board. So that's the staff recommendation with a total of 8 conditions, and we're able to go to public hearing at this point in time.
Notice is hereby given that a public hearing will be held before the Village of Germantown Plan Commission at the Germantown Village Hall located at N112W17001, Mequon Road, Germantown, Wisconsin, and virtually through the WebEx platform on the following date and at the time noted below. Monday, May 11th, 2026, 6:30 p.m. or later. The purpose of said hearing will be to hear all parties, their attorneys or agents for or against the following application to amend the conditional use permit number 07-11 as amended, issued to EKM Moose Lodge 1238, property owner that allows for overnight parking of campers, motorhomes, RVs, trailers, travel trailers, cars, SUVs, etc. on the property described below. The property owners requested to extend the time period from April 15 to October 15 annually and delete restrictions on the number of days and number of vehicles allowed on the property for overnight parking. Again, the applicant is EKM Moose Lodge 1238 property owner. The address is W198 and 102-217 Appleton Avenue. Would anybody like to come forward either for or against to speak tonight? Good evening and welcome. And you're the applicant, correct? I pressed the button. It's kind of tricky.
Okay, hello, everybody, and thank you for coming and thank you for listening. My name is Mary Eraney, Erenyi. I am the Moose Lodge Vice President. And with regards to the statement that there are non-members that are staying at the campground, that is false. Everybody that is going to camp there or has camped there, they are members. So they are members of our Moose Lodge. So that is, I want to take that off. Also, with regards to the restriction of the 3 days, I'm going to fight for our Moose Lodge because of the fact that we've had multiple campers that have stayed there, and they have other places that they can go. Now, the places they can go are 30, 40, 50 miles away at different campsites. If we keep the campers here in Germantown during this pipeline construction and further, it's going to generate money into the community. And because they're going to be buying things at restaurants, at local stores, and at the mom and pop shops. So I'm going to ask that the 3-day restriction be removed and have it basically unlimited, because the fact that these people are here spending money in our community. Okay? Our community. And it's not just for the Moose Lodge, it's for everybody here and everybody in the village. I'm a taxpayer. I'm the vice president, and I'm going to ask that those two things with regards to are people not being Moose members? No, they have to be Moose members. And number two, the 3-day restriction should be lifted because they are working and they're putting in pipelines for us, for all of us. And I think it's very important that we keep these people in our area versus them going to another campground 20, 30, 40, 50 miles away. So that's what I have to say. And I want to thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I apologize. I should have mentioned that the applicant will have an area where you can comment after the public hearing, but that's fine what you said. So, because we'll more than likely bring you back up for some questions and answers from the commissioners. So would anybody else like to come forward, either for or against? Welcome. Good evening. Welcome. And please state your name.
My name is Don Beekler. I own a property across the Landon Road. I'm totally unopposed to what they want to do, but I'm wondering if, as I saw that the Germantown was monitoring what the Moose Lodge is doing. The property used to be called the Kimball property on the corner across the Landon Road. My property is just adjacent to that. I'm wondering why they are allowed to accumulate dozens of unlicensed, unusable vehicles, and your village authorities or whoever does nothing to clean that up. Or
Okay, that has nothing to do with the topic at hand with the conditional use permit for the Moose.
I thought this was a good opportunity
I
to
know.
ask that question.
You're taking advantage of opportunity, but we're not going to comment on that.
Okay.
But what I will do is after the meeting, I'll get your name and we'll have a conversation.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I
Would-
am for the Moose Lodge. I don't
Okay.
know.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward tonight, either for or against? Do we have anyone on WebEx, either for or against?
No, we do not.
Okay, it's 6:44. I'm calling this public hearing closed, but we don't read those in the comment. We don't read those. So, would anybody else, public hearing is closed, so I'm going to turn back over to staff. Jeff?
Just to reiterate, the staff recommendation is to approve in part the proposed revisions to CUP 7-2011 to deny removing the 3-day limitation and approving, but approving the change in the seasonal time period. And there are additional conditions that staff is recommending being added to the CUP to further enhance monitoring purposes and to address some of the concerns staff has with some of the other issues, particularly sanitary.
Commissioners, any questions for staff and or the applicant? Bob?
Jeff, have we had any complaints or reports from the police department about anything at this location?
No, we have not received anything that indicates a complaint.
Okay. My next question is, I'm just a little concerned about the disregard for the additional restrictions put on this site. And I'm concerned if we give them more leeway, that those won't be followed either. So that's probably one of my biggest concerns about this. Concerned that it takes revenue away from our hotels. I'm concerned that even though the applicant stated that everybody who stays there are Moose members, but then in the same breath said that these construction workers were staying there. And I'm pretty sure not all of them were Moose members. So there's conflicting information there. So the,
Yeah, we'll call you up when it's your time. So,
the other concern too is, we've talked about that shipping container for a long time. And if I was going to approve this, one of the additional conditions I would make is that before any of this is approved, that shipping container has to be moved off site.
and in the spirit of transparency, I just want to mention, because I did bring this up at the Tourism Commission that we had prior to this meeting, I am a Moose International member. I've been in the community for 20 years. I've never been at this Moose. My membership is tied to Batavia, Illinois, my old hometown back in Batavia. So, and I do know that based on what I've seen from friends of mine that are Moose members, the applicant is correct. There's folks out there that travel all over the country going from Moose Lodge to Moose Lodge. Whether or not they stay at these Moose Lodges, I don't know. But you can see by the diagram here that it would appear that there's pavement set up to accommodate for RVs and campers and so forth. I do have a concern about the pipeline people staying, because that does take dollars away from our hotels. Something like this with strictly Moose members, and I have no idea how that will be policed. I have no idea, but they are accurate. People do that over the summer. They travel from lodge to lodge. So, Richard, Jeff.
I just want to interject. Earlier today, we had staff call a number of other Moose lodges in the Wisconsin area just to see how they handled the camping situation. We did get responses from a handful in Kenosha. They have 5 camping spots with Wisconsin plates. They're allowed to stay up to 2 weeks. Then they must move on. Without Wisconsin plates, they're allowed to stay up to a 30-day maximum. Doesn't make any sense that they stay longer, but that's what we've got. They offer both electric and water, and they require off-site dumping of sanitary. In Rice Lake, they allow up to 2 campers in the parking lot for just a couple of nights only. They do offer electricity only hookup. Water and bathrooms are provided in the lodge, but only when the lodge building is open. In Janesville, they used to allow RVs but they moved to a smaller facility and now they don't offer any camping. Marinette, they have a full campground available with 100 sites, 80 of them permanent. Again, all members only. They offer electric, water, and have a dumping station. Port Washington, no camping is available. Racine, no camping. They will allow 1 to 2 campers to park in the parking lot for 1 to 2 days occasionally. No electric or water or dumping allowed. And we called about a dozen more, including West Bend, but we didn't get through or get a response. So it's apparently all over the map as far as who does or who doesn't allow camping.
Yeah, and again, I know there was, you brought up the gray water and putting it in a holding tank. I think that's a non-issue because Washington County doesn't allow it, so that's a non-issue. I think if whatever path we go down, if we do approve this, they won't be able to do that because Washington County doesn't allow for it. So we could take that off the table right away. Bridget, you're going to say something.
I was going to ask how the 3-day limit was determined. Was there any history that was from the previous CUP?
If I recall correctly, having been here at the time, it was based on what the request was for 3 days, up to 3 days. It wasn't calculated or determined based on anything more than what they were asking for specifically.
Yeah, what I don't want us to do is turn the Moose Lodge into a campground. There's no appetite for me to do that. So I think the 3 days is possible. I mean, when you go to Walmart especially when you go during the late evening hours, I occasionally see campers in the parking lot. And they're going from one state to another state. They want a place to park, to buy some staples and so forth before they move on the next morning. So it's happening at Walmart. Should we allow it here? That's what we're here for. So, Russ?
Oh, so my main concern, I guess, was the sanitary issue, but it sounds like that's dealt with. Am I wrong in that?
The staff recommended condition to address that reads, the Moose Lodge shall contact the Washington County Natural Resources Department for purposes of obtaining necessary permits, if required, and providing code compliant sanitary services for overnight guests, including the provision of an appropriate RV tank flushing station integrated with the existing holding tank if allowed. A copy of said permits shall be provided to the Community Development Department. I would also point out another condition, because the original CUP actually required them to provide indoor toilets with an allowance up to 3 portable toilets. And my understanding is that they provide portable toilets only for non-lodge hours of operation. So the condition number, let's see, what number is that?
Is that 4? Shall provide permit.
Oh,
bathroom,
yes,
shower, sink, toilet.
Moose Lodge shall provide permanent bathroom, shower, sink, and toilet facilities on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis for overnight members only guests.
And my next question is for the applicant, if she can come to the.
The applicant come back up to the mic. We have a question for you. Thank you.
So can you provide me some clarification on what happened over this last summer in regards to members staying and or construction workers staying? Because sounds like we got some conflicting information there.
Okay, so anybody that would like to stay at our grounds must be a member. So all the pipeliners that were here this summer became members. They're from different states. They're from different counties. They're from Wisconsin. They're from Florida. They're from all over. It is a rule and a regulation that they must be a Moose member in order to be on the campground. Now, with that being said, they generate a lot of money. I know you guys, I get the hotel thing. I get it. However, you can say what you want, but these campers are going to go again 30 miles away or 50 miles away to find somewhere that they can stay. And they are staying right here in Germantown, paying taxes on this, paying taxes on that, going different places. So I am, again, gonna ask you and beg that we can get this approved. And more than 3 days, because these pipeliners, it's a godsend for everybody. Everybody's making money on these pipeliners. Everybody. Everybody. Everybody in this audience, everybody sitting here, everyone's making money on them, including me. I'm a taxpayer. So with that being said, again, I'm going to ask for more than 3 days. Again,
Bridget? Oh, I'm sorry, Jeff?
I was just going to ask, how do you become a Moose member?
oh, it's super easy.
Okay,
You apply and you have to have a sponsor. And then after we get your application, and they pay the due, which is like $50, $50 a year, big deal. And then we go and we screen the applicants. Okay, we make sure that they're not, vagrants or they've got a record, a mile long. "Brrr, here's their record. We don't want to see anybody that's not of good quality. So we do ask that, and we do that. That's how you become a member. You fill out an application, you have to have a sponsor, and you pay your due.
so you could pretty much do it in a couple of days.
Absolutely.
Bridget?
Were the folks that stayed last summer, were they members before they came, or did they do their application on site?
Both. Is that a problem? For what reason?
Well,
Only-
anybody
o-
could come
only-
up and apply if they wanted to take advantage of this use. Doesn't seem like the vetting process is that detailed or thorough. So you could have really anybody saying, I want to park here because it's less expensive than going to some other park. And I'll give you your $50 and you can do your vetting, but I'm sure you won't find any issue. It doesn't seem like it's a good gatekeeper. Say you're a Moose member.
Okay, but we do go through the applicants and we do we do CCAP. We CCAP every member.
I know, but it's not pending Moose membership. It's Moose membership. So,
I'm not sure what that question is. Or
well, if
what-
I'm a pipeline guy, bring my RV in there and I'm going to be in town for 2 to 3 weeks. I'm not a Moose member, but you're allowing me to park on day one. I'm
no,
not a member yet.
they have to actually come in first
Okay,
before we allow them to park.
got it.
And then we
Thank you for that clarification. Okay,
Yes,
so it's
a-
actually. a
and
Moose
then
member.
we also do have Moose meetings where we have to say, is this applicant, okay, do we have any nominations or do we have any applications for membership at a Moose meeting?
So the
and
lead, the
then-
lead time may be a week or 2 weeks before. I'm allowed to
Correct.
park there. Okay,
Absolutely correct, because we have meetings twice a month. And between that time, we say, do you have any applications for membership? We say, yes, we have so-and-so sponsored by XYZ. And then after we say, okay, after that, we have to make sure that they qualify. Like I said, we CCAP them, make sure that they're good standing citizens. And then we approve them. So that is your gate. The gate is that we do approve. We go
Okay.
through that.
Could you or someone that's here with you tonight explain in some detail how the dumping into the holding tank process works?
That's not in my pay scale.
other questions, commissioners?
Is there somebody here that can answer that?
I believe that that's not allowed per Washington County. And depending on what action the commissioners take, there's verbiage in there that will ensure that the Moose would have to contact Washington County to ensure X, Y, and Z to be compliant.
And I agree with that. I mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does. It totally makes sense. And you guys have to understand something too. This was done like 11 years ago before I was even, I mean, yeah, I've been a member for a long time, but I wasn't in this position, nor was I part of that whole camping thing. So again, I have to ask and make sure that I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
So I guess my comment is I have no problem with the 3 days for Moose members when they go from lodge to lodge. I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with extended stay type thing. Because I could be a Moose member and I don't want this to be a campground for a month and a half because I have nowhere else to go, but I got my RV. I don't want to have a tent city in the backyard of Germantown. So, Bob?
So why do you want more than 3 days? From your business plan, what does that do for you?
Okay, so again, I'm gonna go back to the pipeliners because we didn't have people that stayed more than that, other than last year with the pipeliners. And it was, again, they were either gonna stay by us and spend money in Germantown, or they could go to the KOA. And I'm not sure where the next KOA is, but they could go elsewhere. So it's 8 spots, come on.
I understand the pipeliners, but that's kind of an anomaly.
Exactly.
You're not going to
I
see
agree with
that
you.
very often. So I'm trying to, so it sounds like the pipeline kind of told you we could do, if we could do this for longer, this would be more beneficial to the Moose Lodge as revenue, for example. But we're not going to see many pipeliners here on that type of a project.
I'm not exactly sure how long this project is gonna take.
It's moved out of this community.
Okay, but we
It's
do
moving
have,
north.
but we still do have people that are staying by us versus going to somewhere else.
Okay.
So they have a choice. They can either stay by us because they like it, they like Germantown, they like the area, or they can go somewhere else.
Russ?
I-
I'm sorry, Bob.
Yeah.
I apologize.
So once the 8 spots are taken, that's it, right?
Mhm.
Those-
Yes. Nobody in a camping or tent.
That shows up on the aerial photograph. So once a vehicle is in that, you're maxed out.
Correct.
So how many additional, beyond the 3 days, what are you hoping for?
Again, like you said, it was an anomaly. And I agree with you. I'm not exactly sure what, they were here all summer, so I don't know how long they're gonna be and how long that project is for, but I'm gonna ask for at least 30 days.
Yeah, because we don't define how many more.
No,
What
the
can we-
request is to remove the 3-day limitation entirely, so it would essentially be unlimited.
Okay.
And again, I agree with you guys, and I don't want a campsite, I don't want, we get that. But it's still keeping people in the community.
I get that. Any idea for the sanitary issue? Is that do they have to do something from an infrastructure perspective, do you think, or what is?
We could always just change and say, hey, you can't dump here, you gotta go somewhere, you gotta go X, Y to this place. We can do that.
How would you
We're
enf-
willing to do that.
How would you enforce that? It seems like you're having trouble following the previous
Bec-
conditional
Is
use
there,
permit.
I think there might be a lock on the tank.
Want to state this, that my name is Anita Honor. I'm a Moose member. And last year, this whole thing came about because of the pipeliners being here. And they, out of the 8 spots that we had, 6 of them came in that were members. They were from Virginia, Michigan, and Illinois. And they were previous Moose members. The other 2 that were in there were people that knew, that pipeliner from working with them and so forth. And it'll never happen again. But because of this, I would like to have it to be 30 days or whatever, because we do have people that have moved to Florida, they've retired or whatever. They want to come visit their family. They'll be here for, 2 weeks or whatever. I just want to make it longer than 3 days. If you're visiting family and stuff like that, we've had one of them too that, is up here from Florida or whatever. They travel in their RV. They stay here for a week or whatever, then they go up to Michigan by other family and so forth. So things have changed with this, and I think it is really good for the community too, in these people staying in the Germantown area. And I get that you want them in the hotels and all that. For the dump station, they have a little, and it is locked, so somebody has to be there in order for them to take the little wagon that they have or whatever and put it in the sewer, or the septic that we have there. So we can easily take care of that. That's no problem. But it is because of, I don't want to say that we're going to have pipeliners all the time. I'm saying that there are Moose members that are around and would stay for a week or whatever. And I would just like to amend that 3-day stay because things have changed over time or whatever. I don't want to make it a campground either. It was just that last year, yes, we did have all 8 and we had a waiting list of other Moose members that were working on this also. And we just didn't have the room for them. And they, travel with their RVs. They don't stay in hotels. So
Russ?
I hope one last thing, I'm sorry. I hope it's as easy as just unlocking this holding tank. I suspect that the existing permit the Moose Lodge has is based upon a certain amount of volume that's being generated. And it probably doesn't include RVs, 8 RVs they're adding to this. So I hope not for your sake, but I hope that they don't figure that in and say, and maybe Bridget, you can talk to that in more detail, but that may require you to increase the size of your holding tank, for example, because you have more use being dumped into it. I hope not, but
well,
just a heads
and
up.
like I say, this happened last year. That's why this whole thing is brought up, is because they were here all, most of the summer or whatever.
Yep.
We're not going to have that again or whatever, but we do have people that do come and we want to make it more than 3 nights. Originally, when we had this set up, it was more for when we had the bowling tournament, the golf tournament, pool tournaments and so forth. People would come over the weekend and they'd stay like Friday night, Saturday night, and maybe some Sunday, or some would go home. And that's where the 3-night originally came in.
So from a sanitary standpoint, we just heard that the holding tank will not be used going forward because it's not compliant with Washington County. And for, depending on what action we take, if they want to have that capability going forward for their guests that are one of 8 sites, they have to be compliant with Washington County. And I believe, Jeff, you mentioned what they have to do, correct?
Yes. Now, the condition doesn't specifically address the idea that they would just not allow the holding tank to be used at all and make patrons go somewhere else. So if you want to work some wording into the condition to address that alternative too, we can.
But didn't you, I guess, pull some excerpts out of a letter that you received that does not allow the use of the holding tank? Maybe
Yeah, he said that it's typically would be a state-approved flushing station. So maybe they can create such a thing on site.
Right.
That would address Bob's question about could it result in some need to enhance or build a new facility, and it sounds like it might. I don't know what that all entails.
Mhm.
I've seen them at campgrounds, but I don't know what it costs to build one.
Russ?
I know you kind of discussed some of this, but it really seems like we're addressing a temporary problem after the fact with a permanent solution. And there's a lot of questions involved in that, but the open-endedness of not even putting a date restriction on it, I'd be nervous as a Moose Lodge if you get yourself into an eviction issue. Somebody doesn't want to leave and city ordinance isn't saying it's 30 days or whatever, right? That you're going to get yourself in a problem, and not intentionally, but I'd hate to see you guys expose yourself from a risk management standpoint from that manner. And I don't think doesn't seem like the entirety of this process has been thought through before the question was asked to this board. And that's not necessarily our purview, but I'm a little nervous for you on that end. And similar to the sanitation issue, it was being done, but no one asked the question, can we do it? The state could have a huge issue, and I don't want to get MSDF involved in it, but I think they would probably have some thoughts on it. As far as we know, I mean, what we have to discuss from like a runoff management scenario, and now we're discussing kind of post-act what had been happening somewhere. A little nervous from that end. So yeah, going beyond that 3-day mark, man, without a plan and understanding of what you're gonna do, if somebody overstays their welcome and you get yourself into an eviction scenario, the expense that's involved in that and legalities that's involved in that, you're gonna eat through anything you charge these people to stay there in the first place.
Sir, I used to have 95 rental units
Sure.
in the northwest corner of Milwaukee. I have over 400 evictions. And with the Moose members, there would never be an eviction. There would never be any problem. You know, if there was any misbehavior, they have to leave immediately. There's no recourse on that. And as Bob being a member, I think he knows too, you know, these are people that joined and paid a fee to come to that lodge. You don't find the bar issue and all that kind of stuff. And I don't think that would ever be an issue at all. You know, especially from my background, I know that.
Okay.
Other questions? Bridget?
Well, since everyone keeps looking to me to answer the sanitary sewer issue, so it is outside of MMSD's jurisdiction. So a holding tank is not something that the sewage district would handle. It does go through the state because it does serve more than one individual, more than one entity. So typically, the county handles single entities. Anything beyond that is handled then by the state. Those permits typically involve spill containment, protection, factors of you've got multiple users, how do you make sure it is safe, and all of the turnoffs and shutoffs are compliant. There are a lot of steps that are involved in it. It's not a clean process. I think we would all agree that it's not a very clean process. So anytime you have something like that, you do have a lot of agencies that are involved. So to Jeff's question of whether we'd want to wordsmith condition 7 that refers to Washington County, we could also add the state of Wisconsin as another permit list there. That way, if they wanted to go through the process of doing the state permit for discharge into a holding tank, they could do that. That would be one way to comply. Otherwise, not using that holding tank at all would be another way to comply.
I'm sitting on the fence on this one. I mean, I don't want to give 30 days because I'm looking at the Wisconsin Park and Ride. That's right across the expressway. And what I don't want to do is create an opportunity. I'm not saying that you would. And I loved your comment about people coming up from Florida, spending a week here, going someplace else. I love that idea. I have no problem with that. My concern is that once you open the door, you open the door, and opportunities for people to come in. And I'm not saying it's going to happen here. Don't get me wrong. But I would hate to have somebody who all they have is their RV, and they're going to stay and stay and stay. And then we get into an issue that Commissioner Ewert was talking about, the next step, and that's not good for anybody, certainly in the village of Germantown. I mean, I would have no problem maybe going 15 days. So you cover that gap of coming up for a week and a half, that type of thing. But 30 days, I'm sitting on the fence on that, quite frankly. And I know whatever we say, whatever we do on the sanitary thing, that's a non-issue to me because you have to be compliant. Bottom line, you have to be compliant. So thoughts, commissioners? Make a motion. And specific on what you would like to do in terms of changes, I would recommend that. Thank you. You can sit down. Thank you very much.
Okay, I make a motion to approve with staff recommendations with the addition in number 7 to have the state of Wisconsin sanitary permit as an option.
We have a second.
The duration also in that motion? or-
I did not.
Okay,
We could always amend.
okay. For discussion, I'll second that.
Discussion.
So that covers the sanitary issue. At least we think so. It sounds easy for us to say that, well, I got to get a state permit. It could happen that they don't get the permit or it's not cost effective to do this. Then what? What happens if you don't get a permit to have a holding tank? Or they don't let the RVs dump in that? Do you think that's a deal breaker for your operation? Yeah, go ahead, please. I'm just trying to think of the worst scenario and I don't want you to get trapped in something here.
Thank you for that. Okay, so I agree with you guys, sanitation thing and, what do I know? But, I think we should just tell our people that are RVing there that they cannot dump and be done. Cannot dump here. You gotta go to, you just say, go to XYZ place or that place and just be done with it. That's my opinion. But again, I have to ask our Moose members what they feel the
So-
best thing to.
I'm not
So-
I'm not an RV guy. I just have a
I'm
Santa
not
Fe
either.
Hyundai, and there's no place to store anything in that. Average RV, I know there's class A's and all of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
How long does a holding tank in an RV last?
I don't know. That's beyond my pay scale.
Because I'm just trying to think, if we say 15 days, could an RV realistically stay there without dumping for 15? I don't know, I suppose if it's one
Yes.
person, right?
Yes. It
The
usually is.
Bigger
when-
units, yes. If it's smaller unit, no. You might
Okay,
last 8 days. Yeah.
from this last experience, there were no kids. And it was either one guy and or maybe a couple, like a husband and wife or a couple that stayed. So it was never like five people in any
Yeah.
one RV. It was usually one or two. And now again, don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I
I'm
don't
just
have a
trying
crystal
to,
ball.
I'm trying to think through it and maybe helping you think through it if,
Makes sense.
if this doesn't work, would an RV knowing that you don't have a dumping station, would they still use your facility? That's.
I think
something-
so, because there's a lot of different campgrounds throughout the whole state of Wisconsin that do not have dumping stations.
Okay,
And then they just go elsewhere. You have to admit that there's a lot of campsites that do not have dumping stations,
Do you
including
allow water hookup? Do you allow water hookup at your site?
yes,
No, Do you allow water hookup to a camper?
yes.
Okay, thank you. Russ?
So to answer that, yeah, there's a lot of campsites that do, and whether you're staying there or not, sometimes they'll just take a nominal fee for you to dump. There's a lot of people that use off the grid camping, but then on their way back from the trip, they have to dump somewhere, and even the state grounds allow and make use for that just by simply having a sticker. So I think get to the heart of the issue here is how do you want to best service your active traditional Moose member, not this one-off construction scenario? So what best suits that? I don't know if 30 days does, but
I was doing 30 days, or I was thinking 30 days because of this off construction that's been going on. And I'm going to try to speak for our members. I think 15 is reasonable. 30 for those off ones. That's tough because they are bringing in money. You know that. Everybody knows that. They are bringing in money. So
I think
15 is reasonable for the future. Right now, again, I don't have a crystal ball. I wish I did, but they want to stay here. They want to be here. They want to stay in Germantown. So those people like where they are, and they're very well kept. Can't say nothing about them. They're very, very nice people. But I'm gonna go for 15 days for normal, out of normal, 30 because of that.
Russ? Any further questions?
No, I don't. I think that's just my one. If we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about
Yeah.
the
And
best service. the
and thank you for bringing that up. And I would not support, 30 days for those exceptions. We're talking right now about Moose members that go from point A to point B because they want to visit relatives coming up from Florida.
Comfortable with something like that.
Comfortable, and I have no problem doing that. And if they're not going to allow the holding tank, that's fine. And to your point, Bob, if my holding tank is full and I'm only into 5 day of my week and a half visit, I'm just going to go someplace and dump it and come back.
That happens.
Yeah,
I mean,
it
that
happens. So, Jeff, you're going to say something?
Well, I was going to ask, do you charge a fee for campers?
Yes.
What fee do you charge? Do you pay into the hotel motel tax that the village
No,
collects?
I don't think they do. No. So. Further questions?
Second, and then I'd like to make a motion on the duration. So how do we
Just
vote
make
on
them,
this?
make an amended motion on going from 3 days to,
Could we
Okay.
possibly vote on the first motion first and then make a second one? It would make my minutes a little clearer.
Okay,
let's
Deb.
do that. So
Thank
we have a
you.
motion on the table.
Yes,
Okay.
she has spoken.
We
Before
have
you
further
do,
discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff.
one last point. Condition number 4, I think is for me is sort of the most significant of them all, honestly. The Moose Lodge shall provide permanent bathroom, shower, sink, and toilet facilities on a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week basis for overnight members only guests. We haven't really talked about that. I don't, is the Moose Lodge available to campers to come in and use for showering? Toilets? Sinks? I don't know. I don't issue permits in other Moose Lodges.
So at 2 a.m, a person from an RV could go into the Moose Lodge. It's available 24/7. Okay, so that kind of. That's what for that. Yeah,
And again, we're not going to vote on this. We're going to have an amended motion because once we take action on this particular topic, the action is done. We move on. So we can't go on and have another discussion about we're gonna require this, and that on the motion that we already took action on. So we have to make an amended motion on the motion of the 3 days and so forth. So, and I would just say, specific to number 4, based on what we heard tonight, it is strictly for RVs and campers, and it's not for pop-up tents and so forth. So would that negate having number 4 in there because they've got all the facilities in their RV and camper? Russ.
What's the logic behind the ask for number 4?
Just to provide the equivalent of what a typical campground that I'm familiar with provides, where people bring in their trailers, they can use the trailer on site. Or, the husband has to go out to the permanent building to do business, because they don't want it in the trailer, kind of a thing. I know I'm getting a little graphic there, but,
I think it cuts down on their tank usage too. That's part of it. I think emergency weather scenarios, having access to the building. So I didn't know if that was part of that. Obviously, a camper doesn't fare as well in a tornado as a concrete building would, or a constructed.
yeah, I
building.
mean, that's another thing. I mean, like for the mobile home park, they have to provide storm shelters, which they do on their site for their folks.
I think that's where when you get into the extended stay scenario, that starts to become a risk management
Mhm.
issue.
So Bob, do you want to make an amended motion on, make a, Bridget?
duration.
So just want to point out that in number 1, it doesn't specifically say RVs. It says SUVs, campers, motorhomes, travel trailers. So it could be a moving piece of vehicle that does not have a bathroom. And if we strike number 4 or otherwise change number 4, the porta potties number 2 are removed. So there'd be no bathroom facilities for those who are on site without bathroom
You know,
facilities.
the excellent point, Bridget. Number one is very broad, casting a wide net on what's allowed to use their parking, overnight parking. Cars, park my car there, pop-up tent. Should we be more restrictive in terms of what we're going to allow, for this? An SUV, that's a,
So. Yeah, working on that thread of logic, you're starting to go down a path of, are these somebody there that was there for an event? And they're gonna leave their car there because it's better for society if they're not driving that evening? Right, that's overnight parking. So is it just that, or are we specifically talking about for the durational stay type scenario?
The original permit was issued with the intention that it would be overnight stays for people who are traveling through from lodge to lodge
Okay,
or
well,
on their
that's the
way,
intent.
you know, on vacation, and they're Moose members and they're gonna stay overnight at one along the way. It was non-specific. I mean, frankly, the more rabbit trails you go down, the more difficult it becomes from a monitoring perspective. And if we're gonna rely solely on self-monitoring, we've seen what the last, 15 years have resulted in.
Mhm.
do we feel comfortable with the very broad language on number one, or should we restrict that to campers, motorhomes, and travel trailers only?
Feel like that's the heart of what we're discussing.
I'm sorry?
That's the heart of what we're discussing.
Exactly. And I think if you, to your point, someone who doesn't feel comfortable driving because it's a late hour, they've got a parking lot for that. So, which I would want them to do.
Absolutely.
So,
Is the exclusion of RVs in this, is that a big deal? I don't know. I'm not into that, so I don't know. I mean, you brought it up, Russ, that RVs weren't noted. Do we just get RVs in there as another example?
We can certainly add that. I mean,
Yeah,
yurts, you want to add yurts and
well, see, yeah, I don't want to get
Yeah, I think-
exclusionary versus all encompassing, you get into that trap.
Does say et cetera.
Okay, et cetera, it's covered.
again, based on what we heard from the applicant, they basically mentioned campers, motorhomes, travel trailers.
I would simply just strike cars and SUVs.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I'll make that part of my amended motion. We good? Everybody ready?
Good.
So I'd like to amend Bridget's motion to include, leave hers the same. You're good with that. But on item one, to strike cars and what was that? What else were we?
Et cetera.
Cars, et cetera. And then where it says shall be limited to Moose Lodge members only and not for a period of time longer than 15 days per vehicle per month.
Do we have,
Weren't you gonna say SUVs in there too? Cars, SUVs, and the et cetera, right? He didn't say SUVs.
RVs.
We're striking that too.
Yes.
Okay, yes.
we have a second?
Thank
on the
you.
amendment?
I accept that amendment.
Okay. We have discussion on the amended motion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, now we're back to the original motion with the additions that trustee Warren mentioned. So we have any further discussion on that?
I don't think we need to vote on the original motion because it was a friendly amendment. I think it's just one
Oh,
vote.
there you go.
It's just that one vote.
Okay, there you go.
We're good.
That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
This is a recommendation from the plan commission that goes to the village board. And the village board will make the final decision on granting the permit with the whatever changes they agree to. You'll get a notice of when that village board meeting is. It'll likely be the first meeting in June, which is June 1st. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to item B, Abacus Architects Agent for Dontov LLC, property owner, and Basic Metals, Inc. Review of revised architecture and exterior material plans for a 42,000 square foot industrial building addition and office remodeling for the facility located at W180 and 11819 River Lane in Germantown Industrial Park. Jeff.
Thank you. Last month, the Plan Commission considered a couple of applications for Basic Metals. They're a metal supplier specializing in cut-to-length aluminum sheet, slit coil, and circular products. There was a certified survey map to combine two parcels into one, totaling approximately 7 acres in size, as highlighted on the screen. The existing parcel on the north contains an existing 76,000 square foot industrial building. On the south parcel, a 12,000 square foot building, and a proposed addition would link the two buildings together with a 42,000 square foot addition. At the April 13th Plan Commission meeting, the Plan Commission recommended approval of the CSM to the Village Board, which was approved at the Village Board's May 4th meeting. They approved the site and building plans with one exception concerning architecture and materials. And in response to those concerns, the applicant and Abacus Architects has worked together to put together some proposed revisions to the architecture, materials, and color scheme. And Jason with Abacus is here to explain and go over what those proposed revisions are.
I'm Jason Hartling with Abacus Architects. Based on our last Plan Commission meeting, we were asked to tone it down on the office building. I think the revision that we came up with did just that. Here's a rendering of what we are proposing. We got rid of the digitized look. It's very
That was the old one.
awesome. Thank you. Here's our revised one. Streamlined it. One of the comments that the Plan Commission made was they wanted us to engage on the corners, so we added metal panel for the corner. Another comment came that the two buildings did not tie in together, so now we're trying to get the color scheme to tie in together so that it looks more like it belongs.
Mhm.
Our rendering quality improved to kind of give a more accurate representation of what the color scheme and materiality will be. Any questions?
So you added, in addition to the blue accents, you got some vertical striation or whatever. on
This
the-
was
on
always
the-
intended up here to be metal panel as it was required for snow loading on structure.
Yeah, those vertical lines there, I don't think that was originally proposed either.
For
On the white, the vertical lines on the white,
these here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the precast system.
it didn't show.
And
up
it didn't
pretty.
show very well in
Yeah,
our last
that's right.
rendering.
I like what you did. I'd make a motion to approve these these revisions.
Is it an official motion?
It's an official motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion, Bridget.
I just have one question, and it's actually on this view. The area above the office building, is that a different color or is that also white and just shows shaded?
Show that it was a different material. We are switching to a metal panel. It's going to be painted the same as the precast panel.
It looks very nice.
Further discussion? See none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you.
Great night.
Moving on to item C, Innovative Signs, Inc., agent for Truck Country USA, property owner N128W21795 Holy Hill Road, sign application for additional monument signage. Jeff,
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
discussion. I know they have a video.
Yeah.
You want to see the video?
They went to a lot of trouble to
Let's
produce
see the video. Come on.
If you recall, in October of last year, site plan approval was granted for a just under 38,000 square foot commercial truck sales and service facility. The site itself has access on High Point Pass, which is along the east side of the property, but the property abuts both Holy Hill on the north and the I-41 northbound off-ramp on the west. One monument sign was approved earlier this year for the frontage along I-41. And now they're proposing two additional monument signs, one at the intersection of High Point Pass and Holy Hill Road, and the other at the main driveway entrance onto High Point Pass, both of which are necessary for wayfinding purposes. And should talk slower. And the video is intended to show how those signs would be beneficial to the trucks traveling to and from the site or to the site, and the need for the monument signs to help with the wayfinding purposes. It's such a nice video. It's 60 gigabytes or something like that. It's huge. It, it, it's coming. Thanks, Jordan. If you had music, we don't have it.
I
Sorry.
could do that for you. La 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 la.
So now he's heading eastbound on Holy Hill Road, going through and past the High Point intersection. Missed the turn. And the problem, and we've heard this before, even before Truck Country bought the property, some of the other industrial businesses, they had trucks that were traveling down Holy Hill, having to pull in like this one is going to do at the Capstone project, and have to go completely around the site to get back out to Holy Hill, to get back to where they could start looking for the site or their destination. So now the driver is approaching the intersection at High Point Pass and Holy Hill, but in the left turn lane, because he can't see where the sign is directing him to where the Truck Country facility is. And experiences another similar issue, having to go completely around the block to get across the street. So now they're back on the path. And this would be the main driveway on High Point Pass where that white panel truck is. That the site it's got a lot of vegetation in the front, and the driveway goes way back, so it's a interesting site. It's temporary. Wow.
So I assume this will never happen again with the appropriate signage? Is that the message?
And this is their driveway into the site, so it's pretty deep. And then the second monument would be right at this driveway intersection. So the proposed signs are compliant with the sign regulations for monument signs. Staff recommendation is to approve.
Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to item, congratulations on your sign. Item D, Brian Sparrow, property owner, zoning permit application to install 4-foot fence in a public storm drainage easement on property located W143 and 10660 Magnolia Drive. Gordon.
1 second. Okay, thanks, Mr. President. Good evening. As you mentioned, this is a fence permit application from Brian Sparrow, property owner who's in attendance tonight for a property off of Magnolia Drive. The zoning permit application is for a 4-foot fence to be installed within a public storm drainage easement. Property shown here on screen. The site is zoned RS-5, which is single family residential district, as are the surrounding properties. So to cut to the chase on it, the proposal in and of itself is to install a 4-foot solid vinyl privacy fence around the rear yard with the bottom of the fence 4 inches above grade. The property does have a 15-foot public storm drainage easement running along the northern side property line, which the fence is proposed to encroach in. On screen here and included in the packet is the red line on the Plata survey would be the line that the fence installation would follow. The public storm drainage easement is along the northern property line. And then something else to note just up front is that there is a private storm drainage easement along the rear property line that the fence would be installed within per the applicant's proposal. On the site plan and survey, as mentioned in the packet, there is what appears to be a 12-inch storm sewer pipe running within the public easement along the northern property line. The fence, the applicant advises, and based on the placement, would be roughly 4 feet offset from that pipe underground location. Staff, myself, did visit with the property owner to get some photos, at least this time, unlike last month, of the property, and I had tried to indicate as best possible on these graphics where the fence would be placed in relation to the public pipe, public storm sewer pipe, and public easement. Site photo on the left is from the street, looking from the inlet towards the back part of the property along the public easement. And then the site photo on the right is looking actually back towards that inlet at the front of the property line where there's a drain located. In terms of the private easement, I did capture a photo here, which would be technically looking north towards that drain, which shows the swath of private easement basically in relation to essentially where the fence proposal is. I think Brian and I had discussed 5 feet off the property line, the rear property line. So more so probably as a reminder, but also to indicate this since we've had a few of these proposals recently. I do want to read a couple things here just to make it upfront. The section 17.502 F6, so the zoning code, provides for fences encroaching into a publicly owned and maintained storm drainage easement at the discretion of the Plan Commission, with evidence that considering the proposed location, design, and materials of the proposed fence, that the encroachment of the fence into the easement will not materially interfere with drainage flow within the easement. And another thing, which I had failed to mention last month, there is a zoning code provision already within the zoning code that indicates if the Plan Commission deems it necessary in order to make its decision to authorize an encroachment into a public drainage easement, it may require that the applicant provide a report by a professional engineer providing an opinion, which I think is similar to the reports that had been discussed recently. So with that, there hasn't been a report provided at this time. The proposal is what it is. The PC is to determine if a report will be required in this situation, given the evidence that's presented in the application and presentation, and per property owner, if he has additional comments. And if so, if the PC deems that required, you'll have to decide if it's required prior to PC action or as a potential condition of fence approval. Unlike some of the recent ones, this also has a private easement running in the rear yard. And there is, the zoning code also does discuss private easements and does allow fences to be located within private easements, provided written authorization is submitted to the village by the utility owner and or beneficiary of the easement. So staff understands no HOA is active for Wooded Hills, whether active at one point or not, there's no HOA for Wooded Hills. So staff consulted with the village attorney regarding the appropriate beneficiary, quote unquote, and how written requirement would be satisfied potentially. The village attorney advises that the responsibility in this situation, given no other information at hand, would shift to the individual homeowners in the subdivision since no HOA or decision-making authority is known. And although PC is not tasked with reviewing authorizing fences within a private easement, a condition of approval indicating that the attorney's assessment was added by staff to this application though. So as it relates to the public easement, staff's recommendation is to approve the zoning permit application to install the 4-foot solid privacy fence, subject to the 6 conditions included in the packet and with additional conversation that I'm sure we'll have with the Plan Commission and the property owner. And take questions.
Questions for staff? Bob?
So you kind of hit on the big question, not the big question, but one of the questions differentiating between a public easement and a private easement. I'm not too concerned about the public easement because you kind of said that, yeah, there is a storm sewer pipe between the street inlet and the field inlet.
Correct. So as best possible shown on this graphic here, the pipe is indicated by the green line from that drain in the rear yard. And then there's an inlet.
How big is it?
I didn't pull up the crate on the drain, but I believe it to be 12 inches, especially looking back at other property files that are adjacent to this. I saw some notes from 30 years ago about a 12-inch
Reinforced
storm pipe.
concrete pipe, class 4?
I don't think class 4 was included in the notes, but yeah.
So that, I'm not too concerned about that because the assumption is, I guess, on the 10-year design, Bridget, that it should go through the pipe. But as you stated in our last discussion on a similar request, if the inlet, the field inlet starts to back up, then that water goes over the surface, which again is the purpose for a drainage easement. So it's kind of a backup. All right, so that's the point on that line. The private easement where most of this fence is in, I'm more concerned because they got a 4-inch clearance, but nobody can tell me right now that that's enough clearance where the water never gets high enough. I am overly sensitive about flooding in this village now because of the recent events that we've had, talking to people on Juniper and Wildflower whose basements were just flooded. And part of the contributing factor was surface runoff. So this is kind of a lightning rod for me now. I'll always request for an engineer's report to see how high that water will get into the ditch and if it gets high enough where the fence is actually restricting the flow. That's my biggest concern. But you were saying that for a private easement, we do or don't have jurisdiction?
So it's a little bit, maybe Jeff can clarify too if I don't indicate it correctly, but yeah, the zoning code right now, the way it's written, provides PC with the decision-making authority about fences being installed within a publicly owned or maintained drainage easement. Whereas for a private easement, which I don't think we've come across this situation, at least in the last couple of years, it indicates exactly what it says on screen. is allowed within a private easement, provided written authorization is submitted to the village by the utility owner and or the beneficiary of the easement. That's the way the code is written.
Who's the utility owner?
That's just to capture, let's say if it's a We Energies It's a utility easement, then We Energies may,
But it's a drainage easement.
right, so that's just the all-encompassing code. In this case, this is a drainage easement, so
So there's no, private. So there's really no utility owner.
there's no utility, but the language says the beneficiary of the easement, whoever the easement is granted for on the private side. And in discussing this with the village attorney, his conclusion is that it would be a homeowners association. And if not a homeowners association, because they're not functional, then it would be property owners within the subdivision.
So you go to each house and say, sign this piece of paper?
The alternative, according to the attorney, is if not the owners in the subdivision, then the property owners who contribute runoff to this particular easement, which
And-
could be a smaller subset or a larger area, depending upon where it's all coming from.
And that's a signature that really means nothing. None of these property owners know of what they're signing, really. I mean,
Well,
Right.
I'm not gonna go that far. I'm sure they would read it and understand. I mean, the ones who abut it, right? Wouldn't that be the likely group of potential property owners who would have some concern? And they would say, well, you know, it's never flooded in the 30 years I've lived here, and they'll sign or I'll sign away.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, if I may,
yeah.
Brian Sparrow, property owner. So condition 4, I'd love to just strike entirely. As staff has said, the public easement is what's before the committee. The private easement, when it was created for Jerome Bentz and the Bentz Group. I spoke with Scott Bentz, the successor of the company, and have written approval or written statement from him that the JBJ Group, as they're now known, is claiming no rights to the easement at all. And as we've discussed, the Plan Commission doesn't have any sort of authority control. There's no public easement there, so there's nothing for the staff for the Plan Commission to review.
The only thing I would say, if I could, would be that the attorney is saying that it's still a village code requirement. That has to be met in some fashion.
Bridget. I'm sorry, Bob.
Go ahead, Bob.
We had in April. Were you there?
Yeah.
What was that private easement doing? Was it pretty full or what was going on there?
The storm sewer was completely clogged with leaves.
Okay,
So it flooded up to about halfway to that white fence on the right side of the photo. And water just sat down in there. The public easement between the properties, it's way too high for that to be a I guess, backup drain. If water were to flow that high, it would be completely in our neighbor's basement.
I'm sorry, I kind of missed that. So what is too high?
If that backup, the public drainage easement, you said, where the pipe runs.
Oh, the field inlet,
Yeah,
which is
water can't run from between the properties to the street at all. That land.
because the elevation of that field inlet is too high?
Yeah.
It's a
Or
good,
of the land between the two drains here.
Here. So instead of,
oh, I can kind of see the elevation really
Yeah.
goes
Yeah.
up. Oh, I see. So like I was saying before.
the
it's-
overflow is
it's not an
probably here.
overflow for that pipe.
Right.
Because it's too high. So it's got to go somewhere. Okay.
Bridget.
there are 12 rear yards that I count that drain to this inlet. My concern is for those 12 homeowners who would be impacted by the placement of this fence in the private easement. To Bob's point, or at least I think the point he was trying to make is that people really don't understand how drainage works. It is a very complex phenomenon, and if you aren't familiar with how it works or you didn't go outside while it was actively raining, especially the rain the last few weeks, my yard was saturated, but only for like a 12-hour period. So if you didn't look at it specifically during that time period, it had already dissipated by the next morning. So people they're not really good observers unless they have a reason to observe. So if it's in your backyard and the inlet's filled with leaves, you are going to notice that. But 10 houses down the road, they're probably not paying attention to that. So our job as plan commissioners, when we have these fence applications, is to look at it from the perspective of those other homeowners. Is this particular property owner putting in a fence that is going to impact those other properties? And do we need to be the advocate for them because they may not understand the impact of the decision? I like that we're looking at these in a little bit more detail. Appreciate the amount of information that's provided in the packet. The only things I would want added to this would be the size of the pipe, because it does matter on your offsets. So you can say it's 5 feet away from the center of the pipe, but if your pipe is 4 feet in diameter, that makes a difference. In this case, we would assume it's much smaller. That being said, the public easement itself, with it being sloped, the emergency overflow is likely outside of the influence of the fence. So I have less concerns with the public side, and I still have a lot of concerns with the private side. That there are quite a few homes that drain to this area. Jordan, can you go to the photo that shows the neighbor's fence? Yes.
What's not shown here, facing the opposite direction, there are sheds that are about 5 feet from the easement. Not shed, like full foundations and everything.
That's exactly the point I was going to make here. There are other obstructions in the way, but those obstructions are privately owned. They would really only impact that private homeowner, that single homeowner, not necessarily impacting the series of homeowners. If we were to allow a fence along this entire property line, we are impacting 11 other properties because it is the lowest point of the system. I'm not sure that 4 inches is enough to allow the drainage through. And I think that it is going to create some problems in the larger storm events because this is the backyard drain of this whole area.
The fence wouldn't be from uphill, I guess. Any rain hitting my property would have to flow through the fence, right, to the storm drain. But this ditch runs, the fence would be on my side of the drain. Like the water's on the right side of this photo. It's not from 12 houses up. The water's going to flow through our yard. It flows through on the right side here of the.
You're
the
kind
right-
of standing on the center line of that
Yeah.
ditch, right?
You're,
Pardon me? Understood.
yeah, it would not break up the fence. And the fence post, there's no foundation. It's steel pipe hammered into the ground.
Yeah,
So
we're not
it doesn't
worried about that.
Impact subsurface
No,
flow.
we're worried about restrictions to the flow.
Yep.
With those high flows. And as you saw with the catch basin, that was back in the field and was backing up because it had a lot of debris and leaves on it. Because every homeowner is saying, not my job, not my job, until it rains a lot. So we're kind of looking at the fence as could cause the same issue as that field inlet with debris and stuff getting caught in it. And it's a pretty good barrier. And actually, I don't think it would last too long, like with the recent floods we've had. But again, I share the same concerns with, in this private easement, no concern with the public one, but this private one, I'm very nervous about granting permission without doing some kind of analysis to prove to us that that high flow will not get to the bottom of the fence.
Does the plan commission have authority over a private easement?
So that is the kicker, I guess, the way the code is currently written, right? These just so happen to be approved in two, private and public. If, let's just say, if the fence wasn't proposed in the public easement, we wouldn't be at plan commission, the way the code's written right now.
Unfortunate, because we're not looking at it from, this is private, this is public. We're looking out for the welfare of all the residents. I mean, in the big picture, that's what so if you want to take the risk and put your hat that because it says private, we don't have any jurisdiction of it, be it hydraulics, be it structural, well, good luck.
So what do you propose?
Well, my question was going to be, well, plan commission may not have jurisdiction over it. The village does, right?
The village
In a
code
way, yeah.
reads, the way it reads, we would need the beneficiary of the easement to sign off on installation of the fence in that particular easement. And that seems to be the question is, well, who is that beneficiary? We've heard tonight that the original subdivider is claiming no, it's not ours, no responsibility, no authority. And we asked that question to the village attorney, and his response was, well, then it goes, it doesn't just go into the air and that nobody's responsible. Ultimately, he's saying it's the property owners in the subdivision. Either all of them, or I assume a smaller subset of them that would be contributors to the runoff going to that particular easement. And maybe it's just the 12 properties you indicated, Bridget, that back up to the easement.
What if you moved it 5 feet more into your yard to get out of that easement?
It'd be in the middle of a pine tree.
I'm sorry,
It would be in the middle of a pine tree.
pine tree?
Yeah, those trees on the left side of the photo, that's the 10 line mark.
Yep.
So even pushing another 2 feet, I'm starting to hit major roots, trying to, I guess, balance the drain versus tree health there.
Yeah,
So I don't want to
understood.
impact the health of trees and cause issues
Trees
for
are
neighbors
good.
that way.
So what do we, Russ?
Do we have any information on the fence that is down the way there? What
I
was,
believe, well,
Yeah, the fence I'm proposing is by the exact same people who put in the fence right there.
but that fence, I believe, was 10 feet from the property line upon
so it's
installation.
not
so
in
it's-
the easement,
Right.
which is kind of what I'm getting at from, but I'm looking at mowing lines, so I don't know if that's official or not.
Yeah, he told
Well,
me.
they
he
didn't have,
do
they didn't have
survey.
this issue. They didn't have this part of the issue.
They didn't have, yeah.
Fair enough. I'm all for making life easy on our citizens who would like a privatized backyard, but I'm one person and you two share more expertise in the management of water, so I
Bob,
will,
Bridget,
I
what
will
are your
allow your
thoughts on-
concerns
so
to
we can
direct
move
it.
this forward?
Well, I'd like somebody to sign off on it. I'm not gonna sign off on it.
And then who would sign off on it?
I think it's,
And what are they signing off on?
I think it's the property owners that abut the easement. So while there were 12 shown by contours, it looks like there's 14 that actually touch the easement.
I counted 14 on the plat.
Yeah, that was where I was just counting from. So I think it's those 14 homeowners that need to sign off on understanding the risk that they would be taking by approving this.
Based on language that staff would come up with?
The staff and the village attorney.
Okay, so we could approve that conditional based on the sign off of, based on the language that staff comes up with and village attorney.
Do we have the authority to do that?
We can work with the village attorney and come up with whatever that group of beneficiaries is necessary to sign off on the private easement. I think all you can do is deal with the public and not condition it on, in relationship to the private easement. No, that's the complication. That's the benefit of a homeowners association. You got a board of, 3 or 5 people that typically sign off on behalf of all the subdivision owners because they've been granted that authority.
I mean, I think if one doesn't sign off, then you don't get the fence, because it is a combined resource for all property owners. And if there's a single property owner that doesn't agree to the risk, they should have just as much say as everybody else, which is unfortunate for someone who's trying to get a fence and trying to maintain trees. But this is something that 14 properties, it's their resource.
This is outside of the scope of the ordinance.
No, the ordinance says you can't put a fence in a private easement without the beneficiary signing off on it.
So the condition number 2 is essentially still in place by the ordinance, the zoning code. It's just we had solidified it as a condition based on village attorney feedback.
Approve what's in front of us, and that process still has to occur.
Right, even if you strike condition number 2, we're still going back to the village attorney to get sign off from whomever the beneficiaries are to issue a
that's fine.
fence.
City or village ordinance code.
Right.
So do we need to modify number 2 to include all the sign off of all the,
No, I think
Or
that
14?
they're saying the ordinance does that automatically. If we would approve what's here, it would fall into that nature and you would have to work with the attorney.
We would have to convince
To
the village
establish
attorney
what
that it's
that
only
party
14
is.
property owners.
Yeah.
you okay with that?
So he would,
So that, sir, what we're saying, that takes that out of our hands as far as the scope of approval on our end.
Yeah, that's what
That's
I'm saying,
coming to the
strike.
village.
Yeah, you could take on.
We're
number
not
two.
even considering it, and we're not gonna override the village ordinance.
right,
I would assume we won't.
yeah, I'm fine
Right.
with that, yeah.
So we're saying to strike 2 so that it's not part of this approval?
No, it is part of the agreement.
So but that's an additional requirement on top of,
No, that's
No.
right from our code.
as worded, it's written that every property owner in the subdivision. Yeah, as worded.
Yeah, because the determination was made that the controlling authority is basically the abutting property owners.
What I'm hearing tonight and what staff is willing to do is to go to the village attorney on behalf of the property owner and try and argue down from a total subdivision sign off to just the 14 or 12 or whatever it is, property owners.
I think your concern is the parentheses, i.e. all homeowners in a subdivision
Yep, that is my concern.
would be for if the HOA was in place, Wooded Hills is inactive right now. Right now,
For West
based
Hill.
on our conversation, we're talking about the 10 or 14, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I may either strike it altogether or leave it in, I would prefer, but you could make it more broad and just refer it to acceptable by the village attorney instead of all individual
Okay.
homeowners.
What makes it easiest on the gentleman standing in front of us?
I'm sorry?
What makes it easiest on the gentleman standing in front
Yeah,
of us to
I
get the
think-
job done?
What
I think
Jordan
that's what
just
we're
said.
trying to get to. So.
I make a motion to approve with staff's comment with an amendment to number 2 to strike i.e. all homeowners in the subdivision.
Great. We have a second
Second.
discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Moving on to item E, Michael and Pam Madzak, property owners of N116 W13444 Elm Lane, request for a variance from the architecture and exterior materials requirements under section 17.412A of the zoning code for a detached accessory building. Gordon.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. As you mentioned, this is a zoning permit proposal for a detached accessory building for property zoned RS1. Property shown on screen here, it's roughly 8 acres. As mentioned, property zoned RS1 within the zoning code in that district and residential districts in general. Proposed detached accessory building shall have similar architectural appearance and exterior material as the residence or primary dwelling. For this specific proposal, the 1,400 square foot detached accessory building, which is a pole building, shall incorporate or will incorporate metal siding and roof materials per the application. And the existing home has cedar siding and asphalt shingle roof material. So therefore, this zoning permit or application has been referred to the Plan Commission. So PC does have authority to grant variance to the architectural requirement and approve different architecture and exterior materials. The proposed site location, home basically in the middle south portion of this photo with the red box indicating the newly proposed pole structure. Couple elevations here. The applicant advises, again, the metal siding to incorporate barn red color and then charcoal color for the metal roofing. It is to store certain animal keeping activities based on the property owner's submittal or conversation with him, and which is an allowed use within the RS1 district. Existing dwelling here showing the asphalt shingle roofing with the charcoal color on those, and then the light brown, I call it cedar siding. Applicant advises the metal materials were chosen for durability and affordability for the detached accessory structure. Something to note, the charcoal color of the pole building's roof will generally align with the existing dwellings, asphalt shingle. The property is a rural residential setting and there are existing vegetative tree lines that provide screening from adjacent properties, so it's pretty well shielded. So again, PC in this situation is required to render a decision and whether or not architectural variance can be granted for the proposed building materials that differ from the primary resident. Staff recommendation is to approve the zoning permit application based on the conditions included in the packet, or I'm sorry, there was not a condition included in the packet. So staff recommendation is to approve the application as is. I can take questions and the homeowner is here tonight as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the zoning permit application for an architectural variance from section 17.41(2)(a) of the zoning code to construct a detached accessory building with metal siding / roof materials on property located at stated Elm Lane, subject to the one condition as noted.
Second.
That's the
Discussion.
point I was gonna make, is that our packet does have one condition.
Okay, I apologize. I did not update that correctly on the slide.
Just the one.
Thank you.
Further discussion.
I would like to discuss that one condition. It says that the applicant should remove one detached accessory building from the property within 3 months. Is that because of the number of accessory buildings that are allowed?
Correct. So there's 2 detached accessory buildings allowed within the RS1 district. Currently, Michael has 2 buildings on the property. So in discussing with him, he was amenable to removing one of these structures. And we gave him a reasonable amount of time in the condition to remove that after the new building is constructed.
Photo of the site.
And Michael, I'll defer to you about that conversation and which building.
Sure. This is just like a little tiny Menards type, structure. And, so the plan would be that after the pole barn goes up, this would go away, but I would keep this one.
That'll give you a little more space.
I'm sorry, what was that?
That'll give you a little more space, won't
It'll
it?
give a lot more space. Yeah.
Thank you. That was my only question.
Great. Further discussion.
Thanks for coming.
See none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries. Good luck. I love the color of your barn. It's great.
It's been a 3-year journey.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
Thank you.
Moving,
Not since speaking with us yet.
Journey with us.
moving on to item F. Rooker and Mike Milky, agent for F Street Germantown LLC property owner certified survey map to divide an existing 37-acre parcel into 2 parcels to accommodate phase 2 of an industrial development. Property is located at N104 W12659 Dodgers Bay Road in Town 9 Business Park.
Yes, thanks, Mr. President. As you already mentioned, this is a certified survey map to basically accommodate a second phase of a 2-phase industrial development. The project location is shown on screen. F Street is the owner and the submittal was done by Rukert and Milky. The certified survey map is to, again, split off a new parcel for future industrial development, which is outlined basically on the right side of the overall box shown on screen. A little bit quickly about F Street. They are the owner of the 37-acre parcel right now as it exists as part of Town 9 Business Park. The existing parcel was platted in 2023 to accommodate a 375,000 square foot industrial building as phase 1 of the 2-phase project. The first building has since been constructed and fully leased by a company known as ID Logistics as recent as earlier this year. And as discussed already, the CSM was submitted to split off the parcel to create a second parcel for industrial development. So shown on screen here, you have the existing parcel with the lot number 2 depicted on the right side, and then also the CSM proposes a access easement for the benefit of the future lot 2 or proposed lot 2. One thing I should clarify, this is just a CSM application. Of course, no site plan at this time. That would be a future filing by the applicant and owner. So right now, the staff recommendation is to approve the 2-lot certified survey map for the property located off of Dodgers Bay Road. And that is subject to one condition iterated in the packet and subject to the comments included by the village surveyor to address, which actually has been going on over the last few days. So we're close to addressing those comments. That's all I have.
Great, thank you. Entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve as presented.
Discussion. Bridget.
Is this a shared stormwater area? on the southeast corner.
The southeast? Yeah.
And is there easements to the new lot 2 parcel?
Yes, there is, but I just can't, yeah, unfortunately, I didn't include that depiction. But Nathan, are you in attendance? Can you speak on that?
Yeah, the one note on the bottom on the right, stormwater easement for the benefit of lots 1 and 2 of the CSM. The rights granted to the village of Germantown. There is a stormwater management agreement that's been recorded already.
Great, that was my only question. Thank you.
Further discussion?
Sorry, Nathan.
You can say something if you want to. Okay, I know. Seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. We are now on to item 6, Community Development Director's Report, which is new to this body. So
Yeah,
we're
it's
excited about
it's
that.
it's a new item. Well, just to hold your breath. We'll see where this goes. It's intended to be a monthly item. Hopefully a short segment intended to inform and not necessarily to engage in conversation. But if there's something that you have a question about, we could put it on a future agenda to bring up and discuss more fully. It's
a great idea. We did this in Public Works with the Director of Public Works on a monthly basis.
Yeah, that's sort of where I picked up on that and thought it would be helpful.
Great idea.
Intended to bring the Plan Commission up to date on status of approved projects, which we have a lot of. Give some insight into any future projects, talk about any legislative changes that may affect zoning, land use planning, or comprehensive planning. And finally, to bring the status up on any community development department activities, which I'm going to lead off with and talk about our Village Center District, the community engagement program. It sort of kicked off officially last Friday. The website went public facing. We had a social media post that advertised that. The website does also include an interactive mapping comment tool, which some people have taken advantage of. I did notice the responses to the Facebook post. There's about 70 plus comments the last time I checked. I hope all 70 go to the map and provide their comments there rather than just sort of dueling sabers in the Facebook stuff. The community survey is being wrapped up as we speak, and hopefully that'll be released in the next couple of days before the MyFest pop-up event, our first pop-up event, Saturday, May 16th and Sunday, May 17th. You all received an email from me last week. I sent it to the village board and plan commission members asking for volunteers for roughly 2-hour shifts on those 2 days. Most of the slots are filled, and I'm grateful to Meg and Bob, the 2 Bobs here have all taken multiple slots, but there's still some available. If anybody else, plan commission or board members are within earshot to volunteer. Holy Hill Gateway District Master Plan. Oh, I should say, for those who have volunteered, later this week, I'll send out an email with instructions on what we want you to do. So that's forthcoming. Don't worry. It'll be fun. The Holy Hill Gateway District Master Plan, we had sort of a project team kickoff with the staff and consultant about a week and a half ago. We worked on some project management issues, timeline, set up some tentative meetings. They're starting their data gathering process. And we started talking about community engagement activities and started narrowing in on some focus groups. The first meeting with the Plan Commission is tentatively scheduled for June 22nd, which is the 4th Monday of the month. That would be a special Plan Commission meeting on that night. So I'd ask that you keep your calendars open for that. We'll know in another week or so if that's finalized, but the intention would be to start talking about the Holy Hill Gateway Master Plan. The third activity I wanted to talk about was the village trustee. We had an orientation back at the end of April. I was invited along with all department heads to present to new trustees, and we had 3, which sort of was a reminder to me that we're down to relatively few members in office that were here when the 2050 plan was adopted. Only 2 out of the 7 Plan Commission members are still on board the Plan Commission. When the plan was adopted in September of 2022, those 2 are Bob Williams and Josh Tarantino. And only 3 out of the 9 village board members are still on the board. when the plan was adopted. Terry Kaminsky, Jolene Pieper, and trustee Jan Miller. So the majority of the people responsible for recommending and ultimately adopting the plan are no longer in office, so to speak. So why is that important? Well, because the 2050 plan is what it is and it remains intact, whether those people are still here or not, and we're responsible for implementing it. And for those new members, all 4 of you are new, although you may have been involved at various points in that process. In fact, I came across some names at the public hearing. Bob was there, Russ was there with some commentary. But it's important for the new members to know, how we got to where we are, and more importantly, to address some of what I would call constant negativity, some disinformation, and frankly, some downright gaslighting on the part of certain critics of village government about our 2050 plan. More specifically, at the bottom of this sheet on the screen, that the 2050 plan was developed by only a few people in a backroom meetings. We hear that. It's been raised a number of times. And the answer is it's not true. When the plan was adopted in September of 2022, that was on the heels of about 3 years worth of work. The project got started in mid-2019. It was intended to be an 18-month project. It got derailed by COVID. We had 18 months of upheaval and pivoting to modify our community engagement program for a lot of in-person stuff to virtual stuff, which really added to the time frame. The consultant we had people leaving. It was kind of a mess, but we got through it. And at the end of the day, we had over 40 opportunities for public input. We had open houses, public meetings, we had public hearings. We had 19 plan commission meetings where the 2050 plan was the specific topic. We had additional plan commission meetings where it was an agendized item. We had 5 pop-up events. They're listed there. We had other opportunities. We had a community survey that went out. We sent out postcards to every property owner in the village, inviting them to participate, and we had a fairly good response. We had our own website similar to what we have now with the Village Center engagement program. There was an interactive mapping exercise and a visual preference survey that was available. So it's far away from being developed in a back room by a handful of people. We have a document that's about 280 pages in length that compiles all of the public comments that we received from the surveys, the workshops, the public hearings, the public meetings, all of it. That was all eventually boiled down into 2 different documents that the Plan Commission and the board reviewed. A list of major and minor revisions to the original draft. The minor revisions we had, it was a document, this is the first page of it. It was 6 pages in length and it had 78 specific recommended revisions to the draft plan. And as you can see in the column that lists the source, a lot of those came from the public comments at the hearings and the workshops. Some were initiated by staff, some were initiated by the Plan Commission. We had a separate document with major changes, 4 pages worth with 26 major changes that the Plan Commission debated. And you'll see here under the source, public comments is a commonality to those changes that were proposed and eventually acted on. As you can see on this graphic, the ones that were rejected were highlighted in red, the ones that were accepted in green. Almost all of the minor changes were accepted. Almost all of the major changes were also accepted and wrapped into the final document that went to the village board for their final consideration. And they made further changes on the fly as part of the public hearing process with certain areas in the village to change the future land use map. So again, this is not a plan that was developed by a few people. Maybe a few people produced it in terms of the document production. That was our contracted consultant, but it's an effort that results a lot of public input and consideration by the Plan Commission and the board. And finally, what I wanted to address too is something that's been coming up lately is that the 2050 plan is not a law. Wisconsin Smart Growth Law, Wisconsin Statute 66.1001, requires comprehensive plans for all municipalities that enforce zoning and subdivision regulations. Germantown does that and has for a long time. So we're obligated by law to have a comprehensive plan that meets guidelines in the statute with 9 elements. That law further requires that the local government, any land use, zoning, and subdivision decisions be consistent with their comprehensive plan. So the state law requires us to make decisions consistent with that plan. The statutes have changed, minor changes over time. We had a recent one, just the last legislative session, adopted something called the Truth in Planning legislation that becomes effective in January 1 of 2028, where communities are going to they're going to be obligated to require or to approve residential development proposals that are proposed consistent with whatever the densities are that are shown in the comprehensive plan. They're trying to move away from what happens in a lot of communities where the plan says you can do this, but then somebody proposes something, it goes to a public meeting and public hearing. The outcry is, no, we don't want that. And then the decision makers say, no, we don't want that. So they're not making decisions consistent with their plan. So this legislative effort is to try and push communities into making decisions consistent with their plans. So we're going to have to, within the next year and a half, come back and go through a process to at least modify possibly our land use section element and address specifically the densities that we provide in there. And then start making decisions based on the proposals we get consistent with those efforts. So is our 2050 comprehensive plan a law? Well, it's not a zoning ordinance. It's not like that, but it is a legally binding guide for local government decision-making, and it can be used by the courts to test any validity of a local land use, zoning, or subdivision decisions. We say no to a developer and they propose something consistent with our plan, they could sue us, the village, and take us to court and say, you're not making decisions consistent with your plan. Now, I have to point out the benefit of our current plan is we made it more vague than the old 2020 plan used to be, which used to be very specific. This property can't be anything more than this, which led to some issues. So the goal was to create a plan that had more latitude, a little flexibility. And when you look at the neighborhoods, districts, and corridors, and the list of uses that are allowed, the desirable, the acceptable, and the not acceptable uses, that's the flexibility we built into that. We may have to tighten that up a little bit more, and we'll address that as we get into administering and enforcing consistent with that truth in planning law. So if it's not a law, it's about as close as you can get to it being a law. So that's all I really have to say about that. And finally, development project status. I'll just run through this list real quick. My intention is to create a chart that'll have these things in it, and we'll update it monthly and get that to you in advance of the meeting. And then I won't have to sit here and read things off, but I wanted to give you a flavor for where we're at with some handful of projects. Culver's Restaurant, the final construction and utility plans are being prepared. Construction is expected to start it in this summer. Sutton Farms, the 271 unit, single family, multifamily residential down in the Lannon County Line intersection. The development agreement has been approved. It's been finalized. It hasn't been approved, but it's going to Public Works, I think, shortly. The upheaval with staffing has really kind of put the skids on a number of projects, but we'll get through that. The utility and construction plans are being developed, and what I'm hearing is they're still expecting to commence construction on phase 1 later this year. Vertus has 2 projects. Vertus has the restaurant conversion, the Donjas Bay at Fond du Lac Avenue development, the Kuberg Planned Development District. The coffee house was done a number of years ago. The restaurant is under construction now. That commenced late last fall and is moving ahead. And finally, the 4 dwelling unit townhouse project that's just to the south. I got an email from Greg Nagel today indicating that construction will probably start in the summer of 26 if financing and other hurdles allow. So we'll see where that one goes. We did reapprove the site plan earlier this year, so they're good for that through March of 2027. Crew Car Wash, we also reapproved their site plan recently, and they still are on track for commencing construction later this fall in 2026, completion early part of next year. Blackstone Creek, we had two things. The end of November 2025, a CSM to create the 1 acre lot for Culvers. That was approved. That's been recorded. That's out the door. The Plan Commission had recommended approval of some changes to the Plan Development District that would have accommodated the 205 unit multifamily residential on the buildable portion of the golf course just beyond the clubhouse. That went to the village board in November, December-ish. That ultimately was denied. It wasn't approved by the village board. They took those PDD amendments that would have allowed that development out. And now what I'm hearing is the developer is sort of sitting back, waiting to see the outcome of our community engagement effort, and to see where they're going to go from there. So that's all on hold. The premier 48 unit multifamily apartment development on Fond du Lac Avenue, south of Donjas Bay. They most recently have been working on wetland delineation. Apparently there's a small wetland on the site, and developing construction and utility projects. They've been doing more on-site investigation, bedrock, and some other issues that are causing them to have to reshuffle some utility line locations, that sort of thing. But they're still moving forward and expect construction to start in the fall of this year. The Cirrus Carillon 36 unit multifamily apartment project, or single family attached, I should say, development across the street. They have submitted, the PDD was approved most recently. They've submitted site plans. Those are being reviewed by staff, consistent with some conditions that were in the PDD approval, and we're working through those issues as we speak. The expectation is those site plans will be coming to the Plan Commission in the next meeting or so. Division Road, just south of it's on the church parsonage area. Heyday, if you recall, last year we had a consultation with the Heyday Development Group. They've gone through a number of changes since then, but right now they're zeroing in on a 70 acre parcel, the two parcels side by side on Lilac Lane, west of Division, just south of the end of River Lane. River Lane will be extended into the development as a private street at this point. We're expecting applications for the comprehensive plan amendment, PDD rezoning, and site plan to be submitted in anticipation for a July Plan Commission and public hearing date. So those are forthcoming. And the last project, the One Energy, the solar farm projects, the Rockfield project, construction has officially commenced. I don't know exactly. I haven't been out there in the last few days, so I don't know what progress has been made. But we were told, and we were part of sending out notices to property owners, informing them that the construction was going to be starting like April 22nd, I believe, is when it was supposed to start. I think some weather delays kicked in a little bit. And the lime kiln project up on Pioneer, they're still responding to some site plan questions and CUP questions concerning landscaping. So we haven't received all the final plans for that yet. That one has a construction, I believe that's 2027.
Either later this year.
Okay, yeah.
Or early 27.
That's it?
So that's most of it.
Jeez.
There's a lot going on, so
Forgot about some of those. It's like, wow.
yeah, it's easy to forget. Once you get past the site plan, then they go to work and on all the details, and they submit revisions once they, dig a little deeper, literally and figuratively. And so things slowly move along, but hopefully we won't be seeing site plan reapprovals with these going forward.
Yeah, I was on Rockfield Road the other day, and I did see a lot of trucks bringing a lot of stone into the solar farm site. And my only question there would be, I'll reach out to Scott to see if there's any weight restrictions on that road. 'Cause I'd hate to have that road that we just put down be damaged, so.
Yeah, and the agreement with the village and the town addresses any damage to that.
Yep. No, this is great. Good information.
The Rockfield, the one thing that's going to be, because since we haven't heard any complaints yet, I assume it hasn't started, and that's going to be the pounding of the support
Mm.
stakes or piers into the ground. There's 1,100.
quite a few.
The piles like.
Yeah, the piles. It's gonna be some sort of a hydraulic pounding, which will create some vibration and some noise. They're gonna start closer to Rockfield and southwest corner, closer to the property owners, and then move further into the site and to the north. So whatever noise starts will dissipate or lessen as the activity moves on.
Does the village have any obligation to notify neighboring residents of that, or is that put on, the onus put on the developer? or the
We
con-
put that on the developer and they did do that.
Okay, good.
That was the main reason for sending out the notice, was to inform them that construction is starting and it's going to include this activity that's going to generate some noise.
Crew Car Wash, I thought all we did was extend their deadline on this because they were still just nationwide trying to
Mhm.
figure out what was going on, but they're actually starting to move past that or?
No, there has been no activity as far as like removing the existing gas station, the BP. Everything seems like normal business going on down there, but they have indicated to us when we reviewed their site plan earlier this year that they intend to commence some activity later this year and finish probably into next spring.
They were just looking at some national marketing stuff to figure out how that affects this site.
Yeah, that was the reason that they gave.
Which was, I think, a comment I may or may have made in that meeting when that occurred. Just in regards to kind of some of the stuff you discussed here, in the point of kind of working through some of this disinformation, does the village take in consideration for these residents around the Rockfield Lime Kiln Solar Farm? That's been done under protest of this village. Obviously, we lost via state law in what was mandated and what these people can and can't do. But at one point, this village board, and I think this commission even actually tried to stand ground on it, and it became a legal issue where we weren't able to say no. Do we inform the citizens of that action that the village attempted to take, but were stricken down via illegal?
No, we didn't send out notices to property owners.
So I
with
say
that
that because I
information.
think you may have some out there that believe that this was just approved as a go along, get along scenario with a company like this. And actually it was an adversarial conversation between this commission and that company.
It was.
And the board in general in that company.
Yeah, it went to the Board of Zoning Appeals. They challenged the decisions that were made, and the board, based on guidance from the village attorney that was representing them in that hearing before the Board of Appeals, advised them that it was a sort of a, I'll use the term lost cause to fight it. And so, yeah, there was, beyond that, there was threat of actual legal action.
Yeah, I think the village just wasn't interested in dumping good money after bad in a fight. We knew what the outcome was going to be.
Correct.
But it wasn't that we agreed with what state law was mandating we had to allow.
Right. So getting back to your question, did we notify property owners? No, we did not. It's a real challenge to keep up with the stuff we get in and process it, but to try and then notify, I mean, I think we probably could do a better job, like through the website, indicating development project status and ultimately list what the conclusions were. We can look into doing something like that as soon as we get some time.
So while I appreciate this a bunch, was this noticed in our agenda that we would have discussion about your
We had to
director's
really cut
report?
it down. So,
No, the village attorney said we should put anything on the agenda we were thinking we were going to discuss, and I promised we wouldn't talk about it
so,
much.
great report.
Mhm.
We're looking forward to future reports. So great job.
That's very helpful.
I think it is very helpful. Does this become a record? Like, should it be in the packet?
I would hope so.
I mean, going forward?
Yeah.
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 Yeah, like I said, I'll try and put together, at least with regard to development projects, an ongoing chart. We'll update.
Cool. All right. It's 8:38. This meeting is over. Drive home safe, everyone, and thank you for coming.
You missed the upcoming meeting dates portion.